Hi everyone, I'm Lady Teddy. I'm going to be reading out loud to you guys from Magium, which is a choose-your-own text-based adventure story app that is on both Android and iOS, and it's free and it's really good. There's a lot of different paths that you can take, so I highly recommend everyone download it and play it for themselves. I have a lot of respect for the author. The latest chapter was released today, and yeah. So the way that I do this is I know a lot of people just like listening to my voice and falling asleep, so there is absolutely no pressure to participate. But if people do want to participate, I will read out what the options are, and I will say that you guys have about a minute, and if no one says anything, I'll make the choice, and if people do say things, I'll go with whatever the majority of chat has decided. The playthrough that we are doing right now is a smart, good playthrough. So if the decision is smart or good, I will generally make the decision for everyone. Otherwise, I'll leave it up to you guys if you guys are wanting to participate. Currently, we have just started chapter 6 of book 2. I know that it's the middle of the story, so if anyone has any questions, feel free to ask. And if people don't want to play it for themselves, but they do want to catch up with the story because they like it, all of my previous readings are on YouTube. So you can always go find the Magium playlist and listen to it for yourself. Alright, so yeah, without further ado, here we go. And you are able to see it, so cool. What just happened? They managed to get out of the arena that they needed to get out of because they were caught killing. Well, they were near someone. They were nearby when someone killed a noble and they took the fall for it. They had to participate in a life and death arena where they had to fight against other gladiators and mythical creatures to try and survive. And if they survived, which they did, they earned their freedom. At the end of the arena, a dragon attacked the city, and they were able to fend it off until Eden, a very powerful person, intervened and told him basically, "You can't attack us because we signed a contract where if we attack each other's civilizations, we might destroy the continent. So you can't do that." Afterwards, they got their papers to go free, and then now they're just sort of talking about what to do next, and then this chick came up and was trying to get them to listen, and they were ignoring her, and then she used magic to get their attention, which women can't be mages, and she also had the aura of a normal human, which means that she is also a Stillwater. Oh my gosh! Irish, thank you so much for the raid. Welcome in, everyone. Welcome in. Alright, I'm gonna pause the recording. Alright. And that did work. Cool. The girl dressed in pajamas is looking at us with a victorious smile on her face. She seems pleased with herself for having managed to finally get our attention. Despite the fact that she is clearly the one who is magically clearly the one who has magically suspended us in the air, her aura is showing no traces of magic whatsoever. Even when Kate and Flower hide their auras, you can still tell that they are mages if you inspect their auras very closely. The girl in front of us, however, seems no different from a regular human. This can mean one of two things. Either she is much better at hiding her aura than Flower or Kate, or... "Hey, I know you!" Uraka blurts out all of a sudden. "You're that Stillwater girl that kept trailing behind Eden in that fox during the still winter. What was the name? Melinda? Melandra?" Melindra, the Stillwater girl says in a cold voice, and then she flicks one of her fingers, casting a wind spell that closes Uraka's amulet. Uraka mumbles furiously from within her amulet, but nobody is paying any attention to her. Having silenced the banshee, the Stillwater girl regains her smile, and she attempts to continue her speech from where she left off. As I was saying, Melindra says, there's something that I would like to ask of you. The reason why I went to watch you in the arena was because I heard that you got convicted for killing a noble from Varathia, so I thought... Hold on a second there, Hadrick interrupts her. You're a Stillwater? Why, yes, Melindra says, confused. I thought that much would have been obvious by now. Even Uraka said earlier that... But how did you become one? Hadrick asks. Did you get born this way? Can women be born as Stillwaters? No, of course not, Melindra says, slightly irritated. I didn't get born as a Stillwater. I became a Stillwater in the same way that everyone else did. Everyone? I ask. Even Eden? Is Eden an artificial mage too? Wasn't he born as a mage? What is an artificial mage? Melindra says in a frustrated tone. Eden was born as a mage. He just... Why did the game crash? It's the second time that's done that. Eden was born as a mage. She just became a Stillwater later like everyone else. How is this so difficult to understand? But how? I ask her. How do you become a Stillwater? Listen, Melindra says. If you think that I'm going to just stand here and answer every single one of your questions before you even listen to what I'm... How do you know Eden? Darren asks her. Are you working with him? No, I'm not working with Eden, Melindra says, visibly upset. If I were working with Eden, why do you think I'd need to come and ask you for help? Why can't you just shut up for 10 seconds and let me finish one damn sentence? If you want our help, then how about letting us down first? Kate asks her. This is no way to treat someone whom you're trying to ask a favor. Melindra is now looking at Kate with a pouting expression on her face that could rival flowers when she's upset. After a few seconds of silence, the Stillwater girl waves one of her hands, and we all slowly start to descend towards the ground. It's funny. This girl may well have the power to crush us with a single flick of her fingers, but her demeanor makes her feel like one of the least threatening persons I've ever met in my life. Perhaps even less threatening than Flower, or the ambassador of Allendor. There, Melindra says, once her levitation spell gets completely cancelled. You're all back on the ground. Now, can I continue from where I left off, or are you planning on interrupting me with even more questions? Actually, I have a few more questions. Go on, we're all listening. Alright, well, if anyone would like to help me make a decision here, now is your chance. Otherwise, I am going to be picking one of these in about a minute. Alright. I will go with... because I enjoy him being sassy. Actually, I have a few more questions. What? Melindra says, trying hard to control her temper. What questions? Well, for starters, I say, you never told us how you can become a Stillwater. I don't get it, Melindra says. Why are you asking me this question? Shouldn't you be asking Eden this? Aren't you his followers? Hell no, Darren shouts. Melindra is looking at us confused. His friends, then? She asks. Far from it, Kate says. Then how did you manage to attack that noble? Melindra says. Wasn't Eden the one that gave you the power to do it? It was indeed, Kate says. So why did he do it if you aren't his friends? Melindra says. You seem to have known Eden for a while. Kate says, do you really think that he needs a logical reason for everything he does? Or for anything at all, really? Well, Melindra says, I mean, not recently, but if you really aren't his friends, I must say I am quite surprised that he left you alive. Aren't we all? Kate says. So, what was it that you wanted to ask of us? Darren says. Oh, right, Melindra says as she regains her smile. In short, I want you to kill someone for me. Whoa, 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 Darren says. I'm going to stop you right there, Melindra. Despite what you may have heard about us, neither of us are assassins. We won't kill people unless we have very good reasons to do it. We're not going to kill someone just because you asked us to. Oh, but I'm not asking you to do it for free, Melindra says. I'm more than willing to compensate you for this task. We're not looking for money, Darren says. We're here to participate in the mage tournament, remember? I know, Melindra says. When I was talking about compensation, I meant that I would help you with your objectives. Don't you want to know how to find the pine cones? Why would we need your help for that? Darren says. It's just some pine cones. How hard could it be to find them? Melindra smirks at Darren and she takes out what appears to be a pinecone seed out of her pocket. She then puts the seed in her hand and it immediately starts to glow with a bright yellow light, just like Golmik said it would before he announced our first objectives. She then holds her hand out to Darren, inviting him to take the pinecone seed from her. Go on, Melindra says with a smile. Take it. You'll understand why you'll need my help soon enough. As Darren takes the seed from the Stillwater girl's hand, the bright yellow glow fades completely, and the seed does not light back up no matter how much Darren moves it between his palms. As you can see, Melindra says with a victorious smile, a glowing pinecone seeds will not light up for just anyone. They only resonate with auras that have an extremely high amount of magical power in them. If we're talking about contestants from the mage tournament, I doubt that anyone other than the four sages would have enough magical power for a pinecone to start glowing in their hands. You'd need pure blind luck to discover a glowing pinecone if you can't even make them glow when you touch them. If you don't believe me, you can pass that pinecone seed between yourselves. I guarantee you that none of you will be able to make it glow. As we do as she says, and we pass the pinecone seed between ourselves to see if anyone is able to make it light up. Unfortunately, it seems that Melindra was right, and neither of us have anywhere near the required level of magical power to make the seed glow. So, Darren says as he hands Melindra back her pinecone seed. Am I to understand that what you will be offering us in exchange for the assassination will be one of these glowing pinecones? Oh, no, Melindra says. I never managed to get a hold of a pinecone. I was lucky enough to find a few seeds on the ground near the border of a sacred forest while I was on my way here. I wouldn't dare to venture any deeper into one of those forests in order to find an actual pinecone. The golden fox hates my guts. Wait, I say, why a sacred forest? Couldn't you just get it from somewhere else? You can't get glowing pinecones from just anywhere. You can't get glowing pinecones from anywhere else, Melindra says. They only grow in the sacred forests, which are all territories of the golden fox. Oh no, Hadrick shouts. No way. We only just got out of there a few days ago, and now we need to go back? What is wrong with these organizers? It's like they don't want anyone to actually win this damn tournament. So, Kate says, if you're not going to give us a pinecone and you aren't volunteering to guide us through the sacred forest either, what is it that you are actually trying to offer us exactly? Information, Melindra says. There is a device that has been made specifically to resonate with these pine cones, and it can make them glow without requiring a high amount of magical power, as long as you are close enough to them. It is a very rare device but I know someone who has it, and I can lead you to them after you help me with my goal. I can't tell you who this person is, but I am quite certain that I can convince them to lend you the device for a few days, which should be more than enough for you to find a pinecone. Why can't you tell us who the person is? Is it someone we know? Why would they lend us such a rare device for free? If someone would like to help me make a choice here, now is your chance. Otherwise, I'll probably go with this one. Yeah, y'all have about a minute. Why would they lend us such a rare device for free? I say. They don't even know who we are. But they know who I am, Melindra says, and even if they don't agree to lend it to you, we could always just steal it from them. I'm a Stillwater. It's not like they can do anything to stop me. Right, I say. So, do we have a deal then? Melindra asks us. I'm sorry, Melindra, Darren says, but I can't go around murdering people to further my own goals. Even if my goal is ultimately to help the entire world, I cannot just kill a man for the simple reason that you want him dead. So it's a moral justification that you seek? Melindra asks with a look of curiosity in her eyes. What if I tell you then that the person I want assassinated is a tyrant that has killed thousands of innocent people and who is ruling his kingdom through fear and intimidation? Would that change your mind? Who are you talking about exactly? Kate asks. Why, it's the brother of the man that you only just killed a few days ago, Melindra says, the king of Allendor. You want us to assassinate one of the kings of Varathia? Hadric asks, shocked. Are you out of your mind? We've been put in an arena just for killing a noble, and you want us to kill a king? Oh, don't worry, Melindra says. Allendor never participated in the organization of this tournament. Nobody wants to talk to them. Even Golmik is less hated by the other kings than the king of Allendor. I assure you that none of the organizers would bat an eye if you were to raise a ruckus in his kingdom. The only reason why they threatened you with your disqualification from the mage tournament after killing the Earl of Allendor was because you were within the borders of Thilius when you murdered him. If you were to start going on a rampage in Allendor, I very much doubt that anyone would give a damn. Well, except for the local authorities, of course. I'm, not sure what to say about this, I say. She's telling the truth, Layla writes. Allendor is something of a rogue kingdom these days. Neither the Lasathi nor the other kings have any influence anymore on what happens within their borders. Everyone pretty much ignores them, and many of the kingdoms have already kicked their ambassadors out of their territories. This is why my father went there, after he escaped from Thilius, because it's a kingdom where nobody would be able to find him. See? Melindra tells us after she's done reading Layla's text. There's nothing to worry about. But isn't Allendor really far away? Darren says. And then you also have to lead us to your friend that has the pinecone detector. That sounds like a lot of time wasted when we're already 3 days behind every other participant of the tournament. So what? Melindra says. It's not like anyone's made any progress since the objectives were announced. Nobody has any idea that the pinecones can only be found in the sacred forests. In fact, they are avoiding the fox's territories like the plague because they don't want to deal with her. So the chances of them finding even one pinecone in the following week are almost non-existent. Even when they'll finally figure out what they need to do, they'll still need to go against the golden fox. Without using a detector, I can't even imagine how they'd be able to sneak by unnoticed long enough to be able to test every pinecone by hand. So they will need to engage the fox and her followers directly, and I think you can imagine how that will go for them. I'm sorry, but I'm still not buying this, Kate says. You are a Stillwater. Why do you need our help to assassinate a king? Because I came to Varathia as a tournament participant, Melindra says. It was the only way I could think to get back to this place after that blasted king of Allendor exiled me. But now the tournament spell is preventing me from hurting any of the locals, So I've been stuck here since day one, trying to find someone who can do the job in my place. And what guarantee do we have that you'll fulfill your promise once we've completed our task? Darren asks. Hell, what guarantee do we have? What guarantee do we even have that you won't start acting like Eden and trying to kill us off for fun in the middle of our journey? We already know that you've worked with him in the past. Oh, for crying out loud, Melinda shouts, exasperated. If you're so worried about my motives, then why don't you force me to take an oath? You're an enchanter, aren't you? Just make me swear that I'll fulfill my end of the bargain and that I won't try to hurt you. And we can be done with this. An enchanter's oath? Darren asks her. Are you serious? You do know that you'll die if you break such an oath, right? Yes, of course I know that, Melinda says. And you would want us to make an oath that we would... And you would want us to make an oath that we won't bring harm to you during our journey? Darren asks. Oh, no, you don't need to do that, Melinda says. It's not like you could do anything against me anyways. Huh, Darren says. He then turns towards us. What do you guys think? Darren asks us, leaving aside her mildly infuriating, condescending remark from earlier. I'd say her deal is actually beginning to not sound so bad, all things considered. At the very least, I'm not getting the feeling that she's trying to cheat us, and we'll also get to save a kingdom in the process. Well, Hedrick says, I can't say that toppling a kingdom is something I've had the opportunity of doing before, and it would make for a pretty good story when I'm out drinking in taverns. It certainly sounds more fun than looking for pine cones, that's for sure. I'll admit that if we take everything she said into consideration, Kate says, her way of doing things may actually give us an advantage over the other participants, especially since the contest seems to have been rigged from the very beginning to only allow the 4 sages to move on to the next round. Yeah, what's up with that anyway? Hedrick says. I can't say that I was aiming to win the tournament, but this is still making me pretty pissed. Why did they even invite the other mages if they weren't planning to give them a fair chance? Was it all just for show? You are forgetting, Aluna says, that the condition for passing this round is to bring the pinecones to the city of Galamir. This means that the sages can still be attacked on their way to the city, and the pinecones can be stolen from them. So if you are strong or resourceful enough to be able to take an item from a sage, you can still pass to the next round even if you don't have sufficient power to make the pinecone glow. Plus, you also have the option to join the team. You also have the option to join the team of one of the sages if they accept you. In other words, there's more than one way to pass this round, and if they all require dealing with the sages somehow. In other words, there's more than one way to pass this round, but they all require dealing with the sages somehow. If you want to avoid the sages, then the pinecone detector will likely be our best option. '80. Morning, thank you for helping me fall asleep with your reading. Don't tire yourself out too much, and remember to take a break and rest as well. Thank you, 80. I appreciate you. And of course, I'm not planning on reading for too much longer. Well, I don't know about you guys, I say, but I'm personally looking forward to causing a little mayhem in the homelands of the ambassador of Allendor. It would feel pretty good to finally get some payback after all he's put us through in the arena. And besides, Allendor is practically going to become Layla's new home soon, so we may as well do some cleaning up before she moves in. Layla looks a little taken aback by my last comment. I think this is the first time she actually realizes that she won't need to part ways with us now that the arena is over. You will be coming to Allendor. You will be coming with us to Allendor, right? I ask her. Yes, Layla writes, smiling happily. Yes, of course. Well, if everyone's on board with this, Darren says, then we'll get started with the Enchanter's Oath right away. Does anyone have any suggestions for things that we should not forget to include in this oath? So far, Melindra has agreed to vow that she won't cause any harm to us and that she won't back out of the deal after we've fulfilled our end of the bargain. But maybe there's something else we need to add to make sure that the deal is made in good faith. The deal should not be considered over until the device is actually in our hands. Melindra should swear that her friend with the device won't try to hurt us either. I'm inclined to go with this one, but if anyone has any objections, now is your chance. Otherwise, I will be picking this one in about a minute. Okay. Melindra should swear that her friend with the device won't try to hurt us either. Good thinking, Darren says. The fact that she won't hurt us herself is meaningless if she's just planning to lead us into a trap. Melindra says, I'm not sure how much I can vouch for my friend, but what I could do is to guarantee that I won't let them bring any harm to you, and we could also make it so that our deal will not be considered done until I leave you somewhere safe with the device in your arms. Sounds good, Darren says. Once Darren makes sure that nobody else has any suggestions, he takes out his sword and he lightly cuts one of the fingers from Melindra's left hand with the... And he lightly cuts one of the fingers from Melindra's left hand with it. Melindra then sprinkles from the Melindra then sprinkles some of the blood dripping from her finger on top of the sword, and the weapon begins to shine brightly with a white light. Is it working? Melindra says. Can I say the oath? Yes, the spell is working, Darren says. You may begin. Okay, Melindra says. So, first of all, I swear that I am not going to harm any of you. You do know how this works, right? Darren tells her. If you don't specify a duration, the oath becomes life-binding. If I accept your vow like this, you won't be able to harm us for the rest of your life. Listen, Melindra says while pointing her finger at Darren. If we're all just going to keep doubting each other, we won't get anywhere. Just accept the vow, will you? Well, okay, I guess, Darren says as he puts one of his hands over the sword, and the white light begins to flicker. Wait, hold on, Melindra says. Seriously? Darren says. I barely managed to cancel the vow in time. What is it? Can I change the word harm to inflict serious injuries? Melindra says. I wouldn't want to get killed for patting someone on the back. This is an enchanter's oath, Darren says. When you say harm, it's going to actually mean harm. Patting someone on the back or smacking them over the head is out of the question. And besides, you'll get ample warning if the spell considers that you are crossing the line. You won't be able to trigger it accidentally. Oh, Melindra says. Well, in that case, carry on. As soon as Darren is done confirming the first vow, he urges Melindra to continue with her second vow. Okay, Melindra says. I swear that as soon as you kill the King of Allendor, I will begin to lead you towards the person who has the pinecone detector that I told you about earlier, and I will not take any breaks unless you specifically ask me to. Irish, I'm sorry, Lady Teddy. You don't need to be sorry. I went to take a break, came back, and fell into my bed. I'm tired and must sleep. Good. Take care of yourself. Get some rest. Get some rest. It's more important. Good night, though. I'll keep you tabbed up. Thank you for lurking. Thank you for keeping me tabbed. Thank you again for the raid and your presence. Sweet dreams. I hope you have a good sleeps. That's not good enough, Darren says. You also need to swear that as soon as you're done leading us to the person, you will personally guarantee that they lend us the device and that the deal will not be considered over until this device is actually in our hands. Fine, Melindra says. I swear it. Darren moves his hand over the sword again, confirming Melindra's second vow. For your third and final vow, Darren says, do you swear that you will guarantee our safety from your friend? You will guarantee our safety from your friend with the device or any of their associates if they try to attack us, and that our deal will not be over until you've left us somewhere safe with the pinecone detector in our arms. Yes, I swear, Melindra says. Darren moves his hand over the sword one last time, and then the light from the sword begins to fade until his weapon returns to normal. Is that it? Melindra asks. Are we done? Yes, Darren says. The oath is done. Perfect, Melindra says, regaining her smile. So I'm guessing that your team will consist of you, the ice mage, the girl with the banshee, the giant shape-shifting as a dwarf, and... Melindra stops suddenly, just as she was about to point towards me, and then she starts simply staring at me without saying anything. The dwarf is a giant? Layla writes, surprised, but we're all too focused on the Stillwater girl to pay attention to her writing. Melindra starts heading towards me with her eyebrows furrowed in concentration, and she stops less than 1 foot away from me, studying me closely. Melindra says, with a pondering look as she studies me from head to toe. Seeing the girl close up, I can't help but notice that she has a rather cute face, which is nicely complemented by her light brown hair that she wears in a high ponytail. The pajama-like clothes that she is wearing in broad daylight may look a bit ridiculous at first, but unlike Eden's clothes, the ones that Melindra is wearing seem to have been chosen with a bit more care from an aesthetical point of view. Also, unlike regular pajamas, while these clothes definitely look comfortable to move in, they also seem to have been designed to fit in a way that highlights the slim frame of her body and the shape of her breasts. Melindra says again, this time bringing her face much closer to mine, with the same pondering look in her eyes as she strokes her chin with her right hand. Is there something I start to say, but the girl interrupts me. Turn around, she says. Melindra does not wait for me to turn around, and she grabs me by the shoulders, turning me around by herself. After a few more seconds of silence, the Stillwater girl seems to have finally found what she's looking for, and she gasps loudly in astonishment. What? I ask her as I turn to face her. What is it? You're a Half-Lasathi, aren't you? Melindra says, with a mix of shock and excitement in her face. That's why your aura seemed so familiar. I'm a Half-Lasathi, too. It's so nice to finally meet someone of my own race after all this time. There used to be thousands of us before the Stillwinter, but the Lasathi have gotten much stricter with their rules since then, and there aren't very many of them left either. And there aren't very many left of them either. So you'll barely get to see any Half-Lasathi these days. She pauses. Wait. So that's why Eden has taken an interest in your group. What do you mean? I say. What's so special about me being a Half-Lasathi? Does it have anything to do with my stat device? Oh, no. Melindra says, not with your stat device. Then with what? I say. I'm sure you'll figure it out eventually, Melindra says. You Stillwaters sure like being cryptic, don't you? I ask her. Melindra smiles, but she does not answer in my rhetorical question. Still, I'm surprised that you managed to get a hold of a stat device, Melindra says. I was also curious to see what effect a stat device would have in a tournament like this, given my Half-Lasathi aura. So I tried to buy one before coming here, but there weren't any for sale anywhere I looked. On which continent? I ask. I bought mine in the Western continent, where I come from. Where I come from, you can pretty much find these on every corner of the street. I tried looking in the Western continent as well, Melindra says, in more than one city. All the shop owners told me that they went out of stock several weeks before I tried to make my purchase. Wait, I say. Come to think of it, I also had a bit more trouble than I expected when I tried to buy my stat booster. I actually had to visit several shops before I could find one, and that was more than a month ago. In fact, I remember many of the shop owners kept being very evasive when I asked them when they would replenish their stocks. It seemed almost as if they were afraid to talk about it. Do you think that these merchants might have been lying about their stock because they'd been threatened by someone who did not want them to be selling the devices anymore? Never mind that, Melindra says. Could you lend me your stat device for a moment? I'm curious to see how well it resonates with my aura. Yeah, but make sure that you don't mess with my stats. Actually, I'd rather keep my stat device if you don't mind. I want to go with this one, but if anyone would like to disagree with me, now is your chance. I'll give y'all about a minute. Achievement unlocked. Secret code discovered. Yeah, but make sure you don't mess with my stats. Of course, Melindra says. I only need to do one test and then you can have it back. I make sure the device is out of my pocket and I hand it to Melindra. After she looks at it for a few seconds, the girl begins to press the side buttons of the device multiple times in quick succession. Wait, hold on, I tell her. You promised that you wouldn't. Shh, Melindra tells me with a very serious look on her face. After a few seconds of silence, Melindra hands me back the device looking rather displeased. It's not working, she says. I suppose that my aura has changed too much since I became a Stillwater for the device to recognize me as a Hapless-Sathi anymore. Too bad. What were you doing just now? I asked Melindra. I saw you fiddling with the stat device's buttons, but nothing seems to have changed. Oh, Melindra says. I just used a code to increase the hearing stat temporarily by a few points, in order to see if my actual hearing sense improves or not. It's meant to be used as a test to see how well the stat device reacts to your aura before you start using it. The code only works for the hearing stat, and it can only be activated once per day for a few seconds. Can you give me the code? I ask her. Sure, Melindra says. It's 3 times left, 3 times right, 2 times left, 4 times right, then left, right, left, right. Oh, and you need to do it within 5 seconds or the code won't activate. 3 left, 3 right, 2 left, 4 right, left, right, left, right. Got it, I say. Thanks a lot. You're welcome, Melindra says. Excuse me? Layla writes as she pulls lightly on Melindra's sleeve. Yes, Melindra says, looking at Layla curiously. I have a question, Layla writes. Are you able to tell the difference between a Lassathi and a half-Lassathi just by the feel of their aura? Yes, Melindra says. I've met enough half-Lassathi in my lifetime to be able to make the distinction. You need to have a pretty keen magical sense to notice the difference, though. Could you... Layla starts to write, but she pauses for a few seconds. Could you tell me if I'm a half Lasathi as well? Layla continues. A half Lasathi? Melindra asks, surprised. She gets closer to Layla and she furrows her eyebrows like she did with me earlier. Melindra says, while she studies her for a few seconds. No, you're definitely not a half Lasathi. This is a regular Lasathi aura, any way I look at it. I see, Layla writes with a faint smile on her face. Thank you for your answer. Seeing her relieved smile, I suddenly remember the story she told me about the Lasathi from her youth that treated her like some kind of reject because she was mute, and who were accusing her of being a half Lasathi due to her disability. It seems that those people's slander had in fact affected her a lot more than she let on until now. Well, Melindra says as she turns to face the rest of us, I believe that we're done for the day. If nobody else has any objections, I would very much like if we could begin our journey tomorrow at the crack of dawn. Actually, Darren says, we still need to get some papers from the king before we can leave the city. We'll be visiting him later today, but it's not guaranteed that he'll have them ready by the time we get there. Hold on. Darren takes his backpack off and he pulls a transceiver out of it, which he then hands over to Melindra. We'll contact you through this transceiver in case our plans change, Darren says. Don't worry about the range. It's been enchanted to cover very long distances, so we'll be able to contact you no matter where you are in the city. Okay then, Melindra says as she puts the transceiver in one of her pockets. If nothing changes, then we'll meet at the city's northern gate as soon as the sun rises. We'll need to head north to reach Allendor anyway, so we might as well meet at the gate that's closest to our destination. Sounds good, Darren says. I'll see you all tomorrow, Melindra says with a smile, and then she goes on her way. Damn it, I say as I watch her leave. She didn't tell us how you can become a Stillwater. You'll have all the time you need to ask her that question, starting tomorrow, Darren says. We'll be traveling together for a while, remember? Oh, right, I say. Anyway, Darren says, we should probably be heading for the palace. The king seemed rather busy, and I'm not sure how long he'll be waiting for us. He told me that we should wait for about an hour before heading to the palace, I say, because he still has to arrange a few things with his army. I suggest that we do some shopping in the meantime. I've seen plenty of shops while we were walking between the palace and the arena, and we won't really get any other chance to buy stuff for a very long time after we leave Thilius. Yeah, that would probably be for the best, Darren says. I'm going to end here for the night. Okay. Oops. Okay. Okay. Well, thank you everyone for being here once again. This was Magium, which is a text-based choose-your-own adventure app that is free on both Android and iOS, and if you were interested, I highly recommend you download it for yourself. Otherwise, and if you want to know more what's going on, you could also always go to my YouTube channel, to the Magium playlist, and listen to all of my previous read-throughs. Yeah, so I hope you all enjoyed that. It is time for me to go to sleep, so I hope you are all having a wonderful day or night or whatever it is wherever you are, and I'm going to sleep, so good night.